Hi there. Thank you for joining us today as we acknowledge International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, and Transphobia. Since 2018, Equals has hosted various events highlighting the impact that homophobia, biphobia, and transphobia have on the LGBTQ+ community in Barbados. This year, we wish to speak to the overall theme of our bodies, our lives, our rights, as everyone has a right to express themselves as they truly feel without society saying if it's right or if it's wrong. While it may feel as though queer people lack rights in Barbados, today we would like to share some information on what rights we do have as citizens of Barbados that our queerness does not exclude us from. But before that, we have our guest speaker this year, Raven Gill, founder of Butterfly Trans Barbados, discussing the importance of this year's theme and how it relates to existing as a queer person in Barbados. We are also supported today by various international missions, namely the European Delegation to Barbados, the US Embassy, the British High Commission, and the Canadian High Commission. We thank them for their continued support of the efforts of Equals and their commitment to advocating for the rights of LGBTQ+ Barbadians. Finally, as is our custom every year, we have statements of solidarity from our partners on the ground, who continue to advocate for inclusion and diversity in their own advocacy efforts, and include the queer community in the work that they do. Today, they share their continued commitment to that end, and we are forever grateful for the amazing work that they do. I do hope that you enjoyed today's video, the messages and information that is shared, and that it inspires you to express yourself freely and live your life fully.
Hello, my name is Małgorzata Wasilewska and I am the Ambassador of European Union in Barbados. The International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia and Biphobia was established in 2004 to draw attention to the violence and discrimination experienced by lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex people and all other persons with diverse sexual orientations, gender identities or expressions, and sex characteristics. May the 17th is celebrated in more than 130 countries, including in 37 of approximately 70 countries where same-sex relationships between consenting adults are considered illegal. Thousands of initiatives, big and small, are organized across the globe in support of basic human rights of the LGBTI community. Unfortunately, in all corners of the world, LGBTI people are target of violence and hate crimes. They are often confronted with stigma, discrimination, and restrictions in access to health services, education, employment opportunities, housing, political participation, and social protection. Many are ostracized by own family members and excluded from communities. LGBTI persons are particularly vulnerable to violence, poverty, and homelessness. Think about it. What would it mean for you and me if, based on our identity, we found ourselves on the street as teenagers, having to fend for oneself, being vulnerable to exploitation, abuse, and crime for something that we cannot change about ourselves? No person should ever have to live in fear or be hurt, be it physically or mentally, for being there true to themselves and wanting to live an authentic life. A life in which one can explore every aspect of own identity. A life in which we all can be proud of who we are. A life in which one can choose who to love. Seems obvious, doesn't it? And yet, all too often, sexual orientation and gender identity are used as an excuse to justify serious human rights violations. The European Union is committed to support and promote the human rights of LGBTI persons. We aim to promote and protect enjoyment of all human rights by lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and intersex persons. All humans should be able to enjoy the same rights. There is no place for discrimination on any grounds, including sexual orientation or gender identity. This includes the right to be free from violence and discrimination, to be free from prejudice, stigma, and hatred cannot be a privilege but must be a right. At the level of a society, as well as at community level, our rights are only meaningful and secure if they apply to everyone. We have to step up our actions and be more vocal in supporting this basic freedom for all. Any form of discrimination only separates and divides us as people. We need to continue to raise awareness, demonstrate our support, and fight for what we believe in if we want to eradicate homophobia, transphobia, and biphobia. We believe in a world where everyone should feel free and safe to be who they are without fear or hatred. Let it be loud and clear that the European Union stands firmly for the rights to equality with all members of the LGBTI community. Thank you.
Today marks the International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia, and I am honored to appear virtually with you today to celebrate and support the LGBTQI+ community worldwide. This year's theme is Our Bodies, Our Lives, Our Rights. As an ally, I wanted to take a moment to reflect on the importance of what that means to the LGBTQI community. The United States supports the civil rights of the LGBTQI community around the world. Our promises include protection to all members of that community. No one, no matter his or her sexual orientation, gender identity, or family makeup, should be made to feel embarrassed, shunned, or in any way inferior to anyone else. It is widely known that the LGBTQI+ youth are bullied and commit suicide at rates significantly higher than their non-queer peers. We mourn those who have been killed because of hateful bias or because of the lack of access to proper health care or safe housing. This is simply unacceptable, and this must end. To the LGBTQI+ community, I say to you, we see you and we celebrate you. Currently, there are about 70 countries that criminalize same-sex activities. I hope that this year that number drastically decreases. I also hope that within a few years, there are no countries remaining that criminalize something so fundamental as one's most private and intimate moments. And while decriminalizing private consensual acts between adults does not immediately create full-scale civil protections, it is often a first step. Thank you to the Equals for honoring the LGBTQI+ community. Thank you for the essential work you provide day in and day out to the people of the Eastern Caribbean. Your help changes lives, changes minds, and in time changes societies. The United States stands with you to promote legal protections for all people, but today, especially for members of the LGBTQI+ community. Thank you.
Hello. Today, the 17th of May, we mark the International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, and Transphobia. We here at the British High Commission in Bridgetown are proud to be flying the rainbow flag today, in solidarity with and in support of LGBTQ+ rights and the LGBTQ+ community. All people, regardless of how they identify or who they love, deserve to be treated fairly and with respect and dignity. As we celebrate this year's theme of Our Bodies, Our Lives, and Our Rights, I'd like to pay tribute to you, those who help defend and support those rights. I've met many of you in recent weeks and months. You continue to inspire me through your determination, your resilience, and your kindness. Progress has been made on LGBTQ+ rights over the years, both in the UK and across the world, but much more needs to be done. The UK is committed to continuing to advocate for equal rights, including LGBTQ+ rights, in our diplomacy and in our global outreach. We are clear that a society where equal rights are protected is a more prosperous society, a fairer society, and a more content society. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lillian Chatterjee, High Commissioner of Canada to Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean. Thank you to Equals Barbados for inviting me to share greetings on behalf of Canada as we celebrate the International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia, IDAHOT. Canada is a long-standing partner in activism against homophobia both at home and around the globe. Our support in the Eastern Caribbean is both public and private, whether providing safe spaces for discourse, sharing best practices and lessons learned, supporting the efforts of regional organizations through our Feminist International Assistance Program, or simply lending our voice as I am today. Canada is firmly committed to helping LGBTQ2+ groups protect and promote human rights for all individuals. In 2003, Fondation Emergence, a Canadian organization, conceived and organized the first ever National Day Against Homophobia. This idea quickly became popular, and within a few years, an International Day Against Homophobia was being observed in a number of countries annually on May 17th. Canada is proud to have been a key contributor to the growth of this global movement, and May 17th provides an opportunity for Canada to reaffirm a principle to which it is deeply committed, namely that no one should be subjected to discrimination or violence because of their sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, or sex characteristics. In the words of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, everyone deserves to live free of stigma, persecution, and discrimination, no matter who they are or whom they love. In Canada, same-sex sexual activity between consenting adults was decriminalized in 1969, with then Justice Minister and Attorney General of Canada, Pierre Trudeau, famously commenting, "There is no place for the state in the bedrooms of the nation." Canada has taken many important steps towards promoting and protecting the human rights of LGBTQ2+ persons. Canadian federal law now explicitly prohibits any discrimination, hate propaganda, or hate crime against Canadians that is based on their gender identity or expression. In November 2017, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau apologized for past federal legislation, policies, and practices that facilitated systemic discrimination against and persecution of Canadians based on their sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression. At the international level, Canada regularly makes its voice heard on issues of LGBTQ2+ rights and engages in multifaceted efforts to assist worldwide those who are victims of violence and discrimination. As a current member and former co-chair of the Equal Rights Coalition, an intergovernmental body dedicated to the protection of the rights of LGBTQ2+ persons, Canada plays a central role in promoting the full and equal enjoyment of rights by LGBTQ2+ persons worldwide. While we know as a nation we still have a long way to go, we are proud of the progress we have made thus far. We all know that LGBTQ2+ rights are a polarizing issue around the world, between and within countries, within communities, in our places of work, and even within our families. Differing views will always prevail, which is part of our democratic process, as long as we respect each other and exercise empathy as we consider our differences. We understand that countries are at different stages of acceptance and engagement on this issue. However, we should never forget that the human rights of all persons are universal and indivisible, and these include the human rights of LGBTQ2+ persons. On this May 17th, we recall the fact that countless numbers of people across the globe continue to face persecution simply for being who they are. Canada remains committed to working in solidarity with other governments and civil society organizations like Equals Barbados towards the goal of ending discrimination and violence against LGBTQ2+ persons. Together, we are playing our part in building the global alliances that are necessary for combating intolerance against LGBTQ2+ individuals and communities. Be proud of who you are, love who you want to love, and know that Canada stands with you. Thank you to all of the supporters and like-minded joining in today's campaign and demonstrating your solidarity.
Hi, my name is Raymond Gill. I'm the founder of Butterfly Trans Barbados, and today on IDAHOT Day, May 17, 2022, the theme is Our Bodies, Our Lives, Our Rights. And in short, that's simply to say that we choose how we want to live without people governing what we can and cannot do with our bodies, how we express ourselves authentically, and how we live our lives peacefully in unison with the rest of the community. We encourage you today to become aware of the goals and the theme of the LGBT movement in Barbados, and we hope that we can bring more awareness to this program, this project, our movement, and help persons to understand that we have the right to choose how we live in this world.
Did you know it's not actually illegal to be gay in Barbados, even with the buggery and serious indecency laws in the Sexual Offences Act? These laws only criminalize actions and not identity, and are often not enforced. But they still infringe on the rights of and fuel stigma and discrimination towards LGBTQ+ people. However, let's talk about some common violations to LGBTQ+ people's rights that can be addressed under current legislation. Everyone has the right to express themselves however they want, including expressing their gender identity and sexual orientation, whether through words, dress, action, or behavior, once it does not harm anyone else. If you're being harassed because of the way you dress or your mannerisms, you have a right to report them. Everyone has the right to an adequate standard of living, including adequate housing. If you have a lease, you cannot be evicted until the lease is over. The landlord provides adequate notice indicated in the lease, or unless you have breached an important part of the lease. If you have been wrongfully evicted from your rental place, you can take the landlord to court for wrongful eviction. All Barbadians have a right to free healthcare and access any public health facility. You also have a right to receive the highest level of service and full confidentiality. If a healthcare provider breaches your confidentiality, refuses you service, or makes you feel uncomfortable because of your identity, you may report that person to their senior and take disciplinary actions against them. Everyone has the right to protection of the law. Members of the police force have sworn an oath to uphold the rights of all persons in Barbados and to protect them from harm. They also have an obligation to discover, arrest, prosecute, or warn persons who have committed an offense against you. If the police refuse to take your complaint, or you experience any form of discrimination from them because of your identity, you can report them to their seniors. If you fail to get any redress that way, you may also be able to bring an action in court against the police. If you have experienced a violation of your rights but do not have the ability to report it to the relevant authorities, Equals can record your incident using a tool known as the Shared Incident Database. Reporting your case under the Shared Incident Database is safe and confidential. If you would like to learn more or would like to report a case of discrimination, contact us at info@equalsbarbados.com or on our social media platforms at Equals246.
We all have the right to be treated with dignity and respect, regardless of our age, race, religion, health status, physical ability, gender identity, and sexual orientation. Unfortunately, this isn't the reality we live in. Those of us who exist outside of what is considered to represent a normal, healthy human being are being discriminated against. This discrimination comes in many forms: verbal threats, physical violence, denied access to physical places or services, and even denied basic human rights. It can be difficult to know where we can report cases of discrimination and violations against our human rights. And while there are authorities where we can make reports to, we don't always feel comfortable going to them. This is where SID, the Shared Incident Database, comes in. SID was developed by the Caribbean Vulnerable Communities Coalition to capture cases of human rights violations, stigmatization, and discrimination of marginalized groups, including the LGBTQ+ community in the Caribbean region. Cases entered can be acted on if the person wants, and legal assistance can be granted in some cases. But more importantly, when cases are reported, they provide proof for us to say, this does happen. We do face discrimination. Therefore, even if you have an incident that does not require further action, you still help to make a change by providing data. It's important to know that when you report a case, your information will be kept confidential and only be used with your permission. You can make a report by contacting Equals on their social media pages and website, or by phone or email. An appointment will be made to see one of our trained personnel in a stigma-free environment. If it is an ongoing case, the report can be updated and evidence such as photos, videos, and digital documents can be uploaded to further support the case. If you have faced discrimination or had your human rights violated, you can now report without worry of judgment or dismissal. Contact us today and help us fight for equality.
Hi, my name is Leanne Worrell, and I am the project coordinator at the Institute for Gender and Development Studies, Neterboro Unit. I am pleased, on behalf of the unit, to express our solidarity on this IDAHOT for our local LGBTQI community. The theme for this year, Our Bodies, Our Rights, is extremely important when we think about how we must all work together to advance more progressive policymaking towards bodily autonomy for everyone. Wishing you all a great IDAHOT.
Hello, my name is Michelle Farley and I'm the president of Humanist Barbados.
And I'm Lalu Hanneman. I'm the vice president of Humanist Barbados, and today is the International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia.
Today we join in solidarity with Equals Barbados as we raise awareness on the violence and discrimination that the LGBTQ+ community faces here in Barbados and all around the world.